Okay, welcome everyone once again. So today we are going to talk about stored procedures. So we know that we have learned the Pl-Sql for what purpose? So basically SQL perform all the actions, but sometimes you want to perform some logic or a business logic, we have to go for a procedural language. For that, we have to use a Pl-Sql. So now in the Pl-Sql, we have learned that how to write a block, what all can be used, variables, cursors, all that things we have learned, loops. So all things we have already learned in the other lectures that how to be used it. Now, what all block we have learned till now, that was a anonymous block. That was nothing but a anonymous block. But now what we are going to talk is a named block. We have already learned what's the difference between a named block and anonymous block. Anonymous block, we are just writing, executing and getting the result. Or it can be a part of any other block. But named block is the block which is stored in the database. So basically in the named block, we have a 4 major things. First is a stored procedure. Second, stored function. Third, triggers. And 4, packages. So now we'll talk about each and every one by a step by step. So first thing is a stored procedure. So important part, whenever it has been asked, it is asked about the stored procedures. What is a stored procedure? A stored procedure is a collection of Pl-Sql statement, because we are talking about the Pl-Sql, so we will not discuss about a TSQL. TSQL is a transact SQL that is used for the Microsoft. That SQL server, or you can say Oracle, compile into a single execution plan. Procedure is stored in a cache area of memory when the stored procedure is first executed, so that it can be used repeatedly. SQL server does not have to recompile it every time whose stored procedure is run. Simple here, it can accept input parameter and return output value as a parameters. If you don't have any output parameters, so it return the success or failure status message. Simple here. Now, whenever we write a stored procedure, now in the stored procedure, it may have 0 to many parameters, means a procedure can be returned without parameter, or it can have an n number of parameters. Now, when we talk about the stored procedure, it has 2 parts. First part, the header portion, and second part is called the body portion. What's a header portion? Header portion is nothing but which has a name of your procedure plus the parameter what you want to declare. So simply in writing context, we can say that anything which comes before as, sometime you can see the is as well, but mostly we use a as. So anything comes before the as keyword, that will be considered as header portion. This contains a procedure name and the parameter list. That's it. And the body portion, which is everything after the is or as keyword. Correct? Now, why I have shown you here? Because what all till now we have learned was nothing but a body portion, where we had a declaration, execution, exception, then the ending of the block. That was a body portion. So in the stored procedure and what block we have learned. So what's the difference? Difference is only the you have additional header portion, and that header portion make sure that it is stored in the database, and it is always have a name of the procedure, or it decide what is type of program you have written. Now, in procedure, we have to follow in a 2 ways. One, first we create a procedure. So once you create a procedure, at that time, it just you are writing your logic, which is get compiled, and compiled code gets stored in the database. So every time it is not get compiled. Once you execute, it compile and stored in a cache memory of the area. Simple here. Now, the replace keyword is also used as an optional part. So we can say create or replace. So whenever we use a create or replace, that time, if that particular procedure is already exist, that will be dropped, and this what you have written, the new, will be replaced with that. Very simple. So actually, whenever you are writing some procedures, there is a one way to modify. That modifies, you drop the existing, create a new one. But here in Oracle, replace keyword is provided to you. Now, how to write a procedure? A procedure is a module performing one or more action. Simple. First of all, procedure is not written for return any value, but it may return the values. It return the value through the parameters. Now, what is the syntax? Now we'll first go to the syntax for the procedure. Here is create or replace procedure. Then we give the procedure name. And in brackets, we decide what parameters are required as in parameter or what parameter we required as an out parameter. So in header portion only we have two things. Name of the procedure with a create word and procedure list, parameter list. Then we have a as keyword. Okay. So in previous slide, I show you that anything before the as is a header portion. So can we say this much is the only header portion? And after the as, it is a body portion. Now in the body portion, you will see that when we have written an anonymous block, we had used declare keyword. But here, we don't have a declare keyword. So this as, and after the as, we can start with the begin. So between the as and begin is nothing but a declaration part. That's a local declaration. So simply for your understanding, you can say this as is nothing but a declare for you, begin, exception, end. So this much we already know how to write. So now that what logic you have written, you can be stored in the database with the name of stored procedure. How simple it is. That's why we have started with the base. Now, once the base is clear, it's very simple to create a procedure. So syntax wise, again, let's repeat it. Create or replace procedure, procedure name, and parameter list. One important part about the parameter list, that when you are declaring the parameter, you have to declare the data type as well, but you are not allowed to declare the size of that data type. In parameter, size declaration is not allowed. Varchar 2, you cannot decide it is a 30, 40, 50. It is not allowed. It is only the data type. And then you can use a local declaration. There you are allowed to declare the size of your local variable. Then the begin, executable part, exception handler part, end is nothing but you are ending the procedure. Very simple. Now, usually we use only the end, but whenever you are writing a procedure, you should be having a habit end with a procedure name. End procedure name. Simple here. Now let's have example. Okay, let this example be there. We'll write our own example here. So give me a second. I'll share that screen with you. Okay, so now here we have to create a procedure. Now, how to create a procedure? Simple. Now, let's say first we decide what we want to do. We want to return the name of ID1 from the table Bollywood, and we want to store it. Simple here. I'm not going in a big logics, so you will not get confused at all. We want to retrieve name of ID number 1 from Bollywood table. That is simply, we can say that it is a Bollywood that we want to display outside. Okay, so displaying will look at afterwards. So first, what we will do here, we will write a code. So how do we write a code? Create. Okay, so this much is sufficient. You can say create procedure name. But if you feel that for a practice purpose, you have already created that procedure, so you can take a help of or replace. Create or replace. Then what you are creating? We are creating a procedure. So we'll say procedure. Create or replace procedure. Then you have to give a name P1. So I'm creating a procedure. Name of the procedure is P1. Currently, I'm not giving any parameters, so I'll leave it as it is. So my header portion is completed. Simple. Then I'll say here as. Okay. So in the as, okay, so I'm not sure where it was got disconnected, so I start from this. So create or replace procedure P1. It's a header part. Then we write as. Then I'm declaring one local variable name as v name. Simple. And we say the varchar 2. Then I say begin. Now begin is nothing but everybody knows it's a part where we write a logic. So what we want to do, we want to retrieve select name into the name from Bollywood where ID equal to 1. Simple here. And I'll say the end. This end is a P1's end. This is also simplest procedure what we have written till now. So I'll just copy this. Go here and paste it here. And I execute. Okay, so we'll get some message here. Okay, we got a message procedure created. Simple. So now this procedure is created and stored in the database. Simple. Now if I want to execute this, so we can say that exec execute P1. You will see we got a message Pl-Sql procedure successfully completed. That means what has happened here? It is just execute this. Now in this, we have no action. Now let's say we want to display the name while executing the P1, that which name is retrieved. Correct? So for that purpose, first you have to learn is called as a parameters. Now in Oracle, we have 3 types of parameters. One is called the in parameter. Second is called the out parameter. Third is called the in out parameter. And by default, if you are not defining which type of parameter you are declaring. So it is an in parameter. Okay, so let's make a change here. So you understood what we want to do now? We want to display that name which has come out, which is when you execute, we want to see that name here. Correct? So let's do one thing here. Okay. Now, here we'll do one thing. We have to declare the parameters. So for declaring the parameter, I say name is a parameter name out. It is for the out parameter. Very simple. And we'll give a data type as var_char, and you're not allowed to give the size. I'll close it. So we can say that we have declared one out parameter. That out parameter is nothing but a p name. Clear? Now, here, what we will do that, whatever the values coming in the v name, we'll pass this value to the p name. So we'll say that here, p name, assign the value as p name. Simple. We have done this much. So what has happened in this procedure? What we have written? We have declared one local variable. Then we select a name into that local variable. Then we have assigned the value that to the p name. Clear? So let's say I'll just copy this and I'll paste it here. So it's better we can go from the beginning. So we'll paste it here. So just create it. Now, if I want to execute P1. Now in this P1, we had one parameter, that is a p name. You have to pass one parameter, one variable to receive that value, because whatever will be there in the p name, that will come out. So how will you do that? Very simple. First, we have to write it here. Declare. We'll say that out name as var_char 220. I've declared one variable. Then I say the begin. Now here I want to execute the P1. So here you need not to write a execute. Here you have to just use that P1 and pass the parameter. That parameter is out name. Okay, and here we'll say dbms underscore output dot put underscore line in bracket out name. Okay, I'll see the end. So we have written a small block. In that block, we have called the procedure. But you will see that I'm displaying the result of out name, and in this block, we have not given any value to the out name. So let's see what happened. We got an error. Okay. You always make a lot of errors. Put underscore line. No. Sorry. We have to go up here. It's an error again. Put underscore. CP got a name Varun. अब ये वरुण कहाँ से आया? This Varun has come from the procedure because we have declared one out parameters. Is it clear? Yes. Now the parameter procedure what we have written is a static. Static means always return the result for ID number 1. Let's say I don't want this. I want to give a ID and I want to get a name. I want to give an ID and I want to get a name from there. So can we do one thing? We can just here, we can say PID. We are declaring one parameter and we'll say the number. So here we'll say ID equal to PID. Now here we have mentioned the out, but here we have not mentioned anything. By default, this is called an in parameter. First, if anybody has a doubt till now that what is the in and out? In means which take a value inside to the procedure. That's called the in parameter. What is the out parameter? Out parameter is a parameter which take a value from outside to the procedure. Simple. Now here, this P name, इसमें जो value आई थी Varun, which it has taken the outside, and that has been assigned to the variable out name. So we got the result here as a Varun. But this time we are doing it here that we want to take a input as a ID and we want to return a name as an output. Simple here. So for that purpose, now we have declared one more parameter PID, that is a parameter ID, data type number. But here I can use a in. And even if I'm not using an in, by default, it is considered as an in parameter. Very simple. Now, let's say we'll check the spelling because it takes a lot of trouble. Create a replace. We have not made any changes. Okay. So now I'll just copy this and the screen and we'll paste it here. There was no error, so the procedure has been created successfully. Now let's see. I want to pass ID number 5 and I want to get the name of that. So we have an in parameter also and we have an out parameter also. So what we'll do in that case? Simply, we'll go in the same manner. Clear. Okay. Out name as var char to 30. What happened here? New block has off. Variable out name is var char to 30, not 20. No. Simple here. Now, this is v out name var char to 20. We have declared one variable. Now we'll come to the begin part. And here we'll say we'll call up P1. But P1 required how many parameters? One parameter to go inside and one parameter to hold the value which come outside. Correct? So this V out can hold the value which is coming outside and we'll pass a value as 3. Simple. Now here 3 comma V out. Name. We have passed the 2 values. Okay, then we'll say dbns underscore output dot put underscore name. Okay, dbms output dot put underscore name and out name. End the block. Let's execute. We got an error. Where we got the error here? Okay, the error is no semicolon is given at the end. So we'll copy this and paste it there also. Okay, so here no, there was no semicolon. Okay, now there is a semicolon. What error line 5? Okay. You are not asking me what the error I have to answer. V out name. So V out name. Still we got error. Okay, let's put underscore line. Now we got a name as Ilyana. Why it's Ilyana now? Because input was 3. So it is going to retrieve the name for the ID equal to 3. And output is V output as a name. So we got the result as a name. Right? Now if I, let's say, instead of 3, now if I put a 10. And here, we'll paste it and execute. We got a Ranveer. Now can we say our procedure has become the reusable? So simple. So you understood how to write a procedure. Now one thing you have to do is yourself is nothing but here you have to write your logic, whatever is required. So you can use the loops, you can use the if and else, you can use that cursor, whatever is required that can be done. Now here only one name was required, so it was only name. But if it is a multiple, then you have to use a cursor and all that things. Simple. So this is the concept of writing a procedure, but you can write logic according to your requirement. Okay, so simple with assumption that you understood how to write a procedure. Now example we have already taken. Now important part is the parameters. Now we have already discussed the parameters along with creating a procedure. But It is mostly asked, so you must be pay attention carefully here. Parameters are the mean to pass value to the from or to and from the calling environment to the server. These are the values that will be processed or returned via the execution of procedure. There are three types of parameters: in, out, and in out. So mostly we never use the in out, because in out simply means what? Same parameter carrying the value inside and same parameter is carrying the value to the outside, considered as an in out. So it's a combination of both. In parameter, take the value inside; out parameter, take the value outside. In out, same parameter can take the value in, same parameter can take the value out. So these modes specify whether the parameter passed is a read or a receptacle for what comes out. Yes, so we have already taken in the example. We have taken PID as in, Pname as a out. Now let's say the same data type we have, which is going in and which is going out. So you can use a single as a in out. Now, sometimes the question is asked, what is the formal and actual parameters? So formal parameter is a parameter which you declare in your header part. An actual parameter is a parameter which you pass while executing the procedure. So when you are executing the procedure, that time what value you are passing is the actual parameter. And what you are declaring is called the formal parameter. Simple here. Now always you should match your actual and formal parameters the way you have been declared. Correct? Now the problem here is, if you have 10, 20, 30 parameters, then what can be done? So for that, you can use either a positional notation or a name notation. Positional notation simply what we have done. पहला पैरामीटर अगर ID है तो ID की वैल्यू, दूसरा पैरामीटर नेम है तो नेम की वैल्यू. That is a positional notation. Name notation means you can write formal parameter name, a symbol equal to and greater than together, then what value for that parameter. In this case, you can use any parameter in any sequence, but always better is a positional notation. In name notation, the order does not matter. अगर आपने order positional और name को mix किया है, उस case में positional has to come first, order has to come next. Okay, so now this is, we have declared here, this we have passed. So this is the actual, this is the formal. Simple, so sample we have already done. So we'll not go with this example. So I hope that everybody has understood the procedure, right? In the next lecture, we'll talk about a function or whatever we think is better, that we'll decide in the next lecture. And next, for the time, we'll stop it here. All the best. Please make sure that you try it yourself. So until you're not trying it yourself, it will be difficult for you to understand the things.